Tristen DuCross, Shaun DuCross. I love Anti. Thank you for sponsoring us. Appreciate it. You can use DuCross Bros. Save 10% off all your CBD needs. My brother uses CBD rub. I use the CBD oil for anxiety and stuff like that. Amazing stuff. So if you want to save 10%, go to iloveanti.com. Use promo code DuCross Bros. Save 10%. Get your CBD needs. You can go to our Facebook, the DuCross Bros. Get the pin link and join ESPN Plus. So you can watch UFC. You can watch, the Mark McGuire and the Sammy Sosa thing that's going on. I mean, that stuff's pretty cool. I got to watch the Lance Armstrong one. That was pretty cool. I like that. That was cool. But yeah, Dana White versus everyone. Everyone. I say that because I think it's getting to the point where he's just fed up with stupidity. And how many times have I said, Sean, that I am fed up of stupidity? But whose fault is it? Again, Dana White has been so outspoken. Yeah. And says stuff that he shouldn't. Go ahead. Says stuff that he shouldn't, but he does. He's outlandish at times.
Yes, he is.
It's mind-boggling at times. Now you've got fighters crossing that line. And at what point is enough enough? Like I heard Anthony Smith last night say that there used to be an unwritten
code, a fighter's code,
where like you don't say certain things and this and that. And I can kind of see that, but it's as if now is so transparent that it's like you've heard Nate Diaz, you've heard Nick Diaz outspoken about contract issues.
I just think we need to stop being so damn soft as a society.
And that's where the point comes from. Is like, I've said it 1,000 times. As a society, we're so soft, we're so sensitive to certain situations, and then we blow things up that's like this big and becomes this big.
Right.
And that's kind of where I'm at with this now is Jorge Masvidal took to Twitter, and like we talked about a week ago, was that independent contractors and getting paid and wanting out of the contract and saying that things like, oh, well, it's a take it or leave it type of thing.
And most of the time I can get it. Like I can understand it because you're looking at an independent contractor versus an organization, you know? It's not like UFC is ran like Major League Baseball or ran like the NFL or ran like the NHL. They are ran like the WWE, right? Like pro wrestling is how the UFC is essentially ran. That's the takeaway from this. So when you are saying like Jorge Masvidal is complaining about fighters' pay,
yeah,
you are talking about John Jones complaining about fighters' pay, Henry Cejudo complaining about fighters' pay. Do they have a leg to stand on?
And they do, because they have not been getting paid what fighters should be getting paid for putting their lives, I guess you could say, on the line. Because
dude, a company that was bought for what $4 billion?
Yeah. So you look at the outcome of the situation and you see that. Let's just talk about Jorge Masvidal, okay? He says that he was forced to take a contract that longer than he wanted. So UFC says you take a 3-fight agreement, or you just simply go look for another job. He said that he wanted a 4-fight deal, and then that was it. That was an issue. So my question to him was, well, then why did you take it? If you didn't want that contract, why did you take it? Why
like
did
Ryan
you not
Garcia, Sean?
Why did you not try to negotiate for better pay?
Honestly, I think that it comes down to the point where it's your boss. You don't question your boss. Sean, you get a pay raise, right? 25 cents a pay raise. Do you question your boss? I did X, Y, and Z. I deserve the max out. Give me the max out raise. Nope. Can't do that. It's not in my budget.
You know what was interesting is that Henry Masvidal has said that why are all the major names having issues? Conor, Jones, Cejudo. We have to simply take it or retire. My question is, well, why do you have to retire?
To get out of the contract.
But why? You put yourself in that position.
Facts.
Like, yeah, you wanted a 4-fight contract, and then you signed an 8-fight deal. You asked for a 4-fight. They said, we'll give you an 8-fight contract. Take it or leave it. So why didn't you just leave it? Why didn't you go test what your worth was?
Right, and you believe your worth is far more than what the UFC is paying, why are you signing a contract that you do not like?
Right?
Like, I don't get it. Why? Because the 3 initials is UFC, that you believe that you can only fight for the greatest organization in the history of combat sports because it has 3 letters. It is the UFC.
Like, you're doing this to yourself.
You're putting yourself in this position.
At what point, again, we've been advocate for the fighters for years.
For a union, for fighters' pay. We've been right there.
We've been the advocates for it. But yet you've got fighters like Jorge Masvidal who's pointing fingers at everybody else, and yet he's single-handedly responsible
for his own
undoing.
Right.
And then he wants to make a comment about, well, those white knights. That comment,
in the world that we are in right now, you use those words.
But yeah, he was talking about like Daniel Cormier.
Right. The commentators.
The commentators. John Anik. Joe Rogan. The list goes on. But yet, he's quick to point and say, well, this guy's at fault here.
Right.
And yet, this guy shouldn't be speaking here. Daniel Cormier went on Ariel and DC show and said that, well, when I had an issue with Dana White, we had a very uncomfortable conversation.
We had a yelling match.
So if Daniel Cormier can do the same thing, and we know Conor's probably done the same thing. Conor's always got what he's wanting because he's not afraid to either hold out.
He's been assertive.
He's not afraid to hold out, to talk about what his worth is. You either want him or you don't. Jorge Masvidal has always been quick to sign on that dotted line.
Yep.
But yet here he is pointing fingers and not taking fights and saying it's their fault, not my fault. But yet, if you want a 4-fight contract, but yet you're the guy that signs an 8-fight deal, whose fault is that?
My only gripe about fighters complaining about fighters' pay right now when you're signed underneath the UFC contract is the fact that there's no way that your boss should make more money than you. Just saying. There's no way Dana White should be making more money than a fighter.
Well, yes, because he runs the whole promotion.
I disagree with that.
We talked about that the last time. That's apples and oranges. We're talking about fighters. So, I have a hard time on the fence with this one. Except for, I agree with John Jones deserving more money. You heard that last week.
Yep.
I agree with that one. I agree with Henry Cejudo. I agree with those guys. I just don't agree with which Jorge Masvidal is going about it right now. The wording, the terminology, but yet the facts don't back with what he's saying because he did it to himself. I have a hard time deciphering that.
A little bit.
So in that case, it's like, dude, just if you don't want to be there, don't be there. You're the one that's tied into a contract now that you have to retire.
Well, what about the situation about where he called out the media? About the Conor situation, about the clickbait issues and stuff like that.
Again, that's common theme because again, I see it now is that I could go through like 5-6 different sites analyzing and breaking down information, getting ready for the show and stuff like that. And it's like, well, This person said this one. This one person said this one. But yet, you'll have maybe 1 out of the 5 that has seemingly the correct facts and correct information presented, while you're looking at certain other websites that are there to try to get you to get either a rise out of you or try to get the next best sound bite. And it's our job to decipher as best as we can what is real, what is fake, what is fictional, and try to give you our spin on what may be real, what may not be real.
One thing you get from us 100% of the time is complete transparency, 100% what we are about. We don't lie about headlines. We don't lie about, we don't make up clickbait titles to get you to come. You either like us or you don't.
You're going to come watch us because you like what we say.
You cross that line because you want something different. You believe in something different. So you cross that line and you join us. You hit that subscribe button to follow us. You follow us on our social media because you want to. We don't garner a clout. We don't garner attention. We don't. And the fact that Dana White had to sit there and call out big headlines, big media outlets. Dude, we worked for one. We did not like how it was ran. We left. Good deal? Bad deal? Whatever. So when you see all these people say, well, I'm better than this. I'm better at this. Yeah, because, dude, all you are is lying to everybody. You create false narratives. You create false headlines so you can get your bottom dollar, your clickbait, your tap. That's what you're about. Dana White called exactly how he saw it. Dana White had every right to say that stop all the bullshit. You are a media outlet. Act like it.
Right?
Act professional. We've been at this game for how long, Sean?
For quite a while. It's either
and
good,
I will never go into the bullshit. I will never go down a rabbit hole like half the combat sports want to. People do this for clout. People do this for think that because well, if somebody can do it, then I can do it.
Right?
I can have a show because so can have a show. We do this because we love it. We do it because this has been from day one. This has been what we've wanted to do from day one. This ain't no joke. This ain't no game. This ain't nothing. This is exactly where we've wanted to be. This is what we wanted to do, and we will continue to do it. And we will continue to provide the transparency and the authenticity of media, of combat sports, because that's what we are about. And Dana White finally, I think more media people need to actually look at themselves in the mirror and come on, take this seriously.